purpose of this PD is to show you guys and to be able to create the perception of orderliness in the classroom. So with us creating orderliness, it helps us to minimize the opportunity that some students may have to engage in off-task behavior. So that could cut down on a lot of the the negotiable demerit that we tend to enter. So for the students, it will also signal that they should know what's expected, we know what's expected, and that we have high standards. So when we have high standards and the expectations are laid out, then the students are less likely to misbehave. So just so you guys will know, that the title of this PD is discipline, but this will just show you the principles. We're going to show you 5 principles of classroom management, and discipline is actually one of the principles. So discipline isn't like its own category. It falls under the 5 principles. So the 5 principles are discipline, management, control, influence, and engagement. Ms. Ross can touch on a couple of them. So the next principle is management, and that's one of the important pieces as well, because we all engage in some form of management system, whether it's the big system that we all know and love, the demerit system, also the upperclassmen, the merit system, and our PUMA points. But every time a student comes in your class, they do a do now, and they know that after the do now, they do their book of choice. So that routine that you have the students engaging in, that's your system of management as well. So a management system is the process of reinforcing behavior with consequences or rewards. So a lot of the times, we tend to lean towards the consequence side and not focus on the reward side so much. And that could cause a potential problem. So why do you feel it's important to have a management system on? Is there anybody who doesn't feel that it's important to have a management system? So why would we agree that it's important to have a management system? Yes?
Students learn best when they know what's expected, not to worry about what to do.
Okay.
It just increases classroom efficiency.
Yeah, and again, when we talk about management, we're talking about the systems and routines that you guys all have in your classrooms. So this is what Teach Like a Champion says, or answers for this question. Having a management system helps you respond to a high volume of behavior quickly and consistently. So you know how to get your students into the classroom, you know how to get them in their seats, get them their work. I don't know, does anybody have a special system for passing out papers or turning in papers? Anybody want to share?
I'll put up a smart board, the roster, and I have 2 students collect my that. One does it themselves, the other one gets the students to hand it in while the students are doing that for the choice.
And one thing that we should all be aware of, over-reliance on a management system, either or, in a way it causes a death spiral, so it desensitizes the student. So I know a lot of times we hear students say, oh, I know that's one, whatever, or I'll just take the 4. Like, so the management system isn't working because in somewhere there's become an over-reliance on the management system. So students just either they don't fear it or that's the expectation for whatever unfavorable act that they engage in. So we need to do more of each. So there's students who we may have our good students who feel like, oh, all I do is good, so I never get in trouble, so they don't expect to get consequences. So we need to balance that out with, sometimes saying like, you can't just get a talking to about everything. Sometimes you have to receive the consequence. Whereas other students, it's everything isn't a demerit. Sometimes I can talk to you. Or when you do good, you do get PUMA points, or you do get merits for doing good things, engaging in positive behavior. So the third principle of classroom management is control. Now, control is defined as a teacher's capacity to cause someone to choose to do what they ask, regardless of the consequences, because all actions are choices. Anything that our students do, it's a choice that they make. So we have to have the control, and that causes them to choose to engage in the behavior that the expectations that we're setting out. So going back to discipline and management, what do you think will happen if you have discipline and you have management, but you don't have control? This side.
Interference.
So the fourth principle is influence, and that's the process of inspiring students to want to succeed. So it's getting students to buy into what you're laying out, and pretty much buy into what you're selling. So also it's important that when we try to establish these relationships and try to build personal relationships with these students in order to encourage influence, that there may be some kind of backlash, because influence works initially, but if you can't follow that influence up with control, then it's not going to be able, you can't sustain it, like it won't last. So you can come in, maybe at the beginning of the year, student will say, oh, I've never seen Mr. Alisco, I've never had a teacher like Mr. Alisco before. And then eventually it's like, okay, I bought it, I believed it because it was cool seeing him the first day, and it's like, all right, it's just, it's just seeing him. And then after that, there's really no control. Like, so it really didn't work. So you notice that decline as the year goes on. So quarter two, that star student might become worst student that he got in the class because, he doesn't have the control. He doesn't have the influence. So the last one, which is important in keeping students focused, keeping them on task, and keeping them away from off-task behavior, is the engagement. And whatever activities that they're taking part in your class, whether it's physical or if it's keeping their brains working constantly or keeping them engaged, some kind of engagement is what you give students something to say yes to. So we talked about in the last session with Mr. Taylor, it may be because they're constantly working. Science is working their brains, and they're constantly thinking, and we have to find a result, or we're getting our results that day. So we're working, and towards the end of the period, we know if what we did in the lab is right or wrong. Or if we're wrong, then we can go back and check it and see. We can come to the office hours and see why we were wrong. Or we're proud that we worked all that period and got the right answer in the lab. So we should know that students change from the outside in. So the more they see themselves actively engaged, or we can use PE and ROTC, for example, like when they see themselves engaged in something positive, they start to believe in themselves. And that engaging in that positive activity promotes positive people. So it helps us to produce more productive people. So economy of language, that's key, because you don't want to, as people say, beat a dead horse. So whatever you want to get as few words out and be as effective as possible in the least amount of words. So sit up and just keep it moving. Like, it's not sit up because I keep picking up. Okay. But it's not sit up because Mr. Slav's over here sitting up right. Everybody else is sitting up. So that's what we need to do. We need to keep this activity going. That's two different words. Sit up. That's what I need you to do. So it shows that you're calm and you're clear about what you want. Concise words. You focus the students' minds on nothing but the essential part of it. So they're not focused on, all right, everybody else. That might cause more off-task behavior. If you're saying sit up because everybody else is sitting up, then that'll cause the student to look around and see, like, I'm sitting up. Everybody not sitting up. To check, to see, to prove you right. They have to verify it, I guess. So here we'll watch a clip on economy of language. Seeing that, those simple instructions, it was sit, turn your chair around, put your book on your lap. And she didn't come, and it was effective because it was a small job, but I think that still works going into the high school level as well, because it causes them to focus solely on what you're asking, not anything else. They're not focusing on the fact that their behavior, they're off task or anything like that. It just lets them know this is what you want from me and this is what I should be doing. So did anybody notice the two examples of self-interrupting in this book? I think the second one was the most obvious, but with the first one, she actually interrupted the student. Like, she showed the student, like, no, don't talk over them. Let them know that what they're doing isn't acceptable, and then you keep going because you're on task, you're participating. So let's show them that they're not supposed to be talking while you're talking. question.
Yes.
So the next principle is do not engage. So once you set the topic or once you set the expectation, don't engage until what you ask is satisfied. So I think with that one, like we see, is I'm telling you what I want you to do. I understand what you got going on. One of the things that I noticed with Christy Lundy, she did say, I'm not going to focus on whatever you're doing. This is what you need to be answering my question. So she let her know, because that was a little girl that kicked a little boy on the table. So I don't care what happened. I asked you a question. You need to be answering. You need to be participating in answering the question. And I think that repetition is practice. So you might feel like you're just wasting your breath, but it's practice. It's practice. It's like, okay, all right, they don't want me to do it. They don't want me to do it. Like, and finally, they know that it's what I'm not supposed to be doing.
And this,
The fourth one is square up, stand still. So it's not, you don't retreat, you move towards control. So if Greg's in the back, I won't move all the way back to Greg, but I'll move to his side to let him know now I'm focusing my attention on you, on correcting your behavior before it gets out of hand. So you face it with both shoulders. So you square, like, literally square up and you stand still. You come nearest the trouble. And then if it's immediate, like it's close to you, you bend in to show that you're not afraid of it. So you meet their head on. And by formal body language, they mean you stand up, your shoulders are square, you may have your arms behind your back, some people put their arms to the side, and you're standing still, like you're not rocking, you're not leaning in, and you don't have your hand on their back to show like you're being passionate or consoling. You're serious in what you're saying. Lastly, the quiet power. This kind of goes with what Ms. Rodriguez was saying about the look. So it's a little bit quieter and it's slower. So it may be like a chaotic situation with somebody talking, like students talking while you're talking or doing something while you're talking. But if you're calm and you give them that look, that body language shows that you're not playing at that time. So here's a video clip to show an example of